Hello, welcome. And today on the It Starts With You podcast, I am so excited to bring you some tips, tricks, and lessons learned from the recent National Speakers Association conference that I attended. I actually sort of decided last minute to record this episode, so I am sharing a lot of the details with my speaking clients. So, for those of you who don't know, who might be new to tuning in, I am a speaking and business mentor along with being a leadership and high performance coach and speaker myself. So I help other people to really find, own, and use their voice to grow their business, to get paid for speaking, or for those people who work in corporate to really be able to share their message and use their voice confidently, whether that be in meetings, in presentations, things like that. And so I am always trying to not only improve myself and better my own speaking abilities for my business, but also to be able to help my clients. And so I recently joined the National Speakers Association, which is one of the largest organizations for professional speakers, and had the opportunity to attend their influence event in Orlando, Florida recently. And as I was going through, first of all, I have pages and pages and pages of notes. I met so many amazing connections. I learned so much about not only speaking itself, but the business side of speaking. And I was gathering all of this together because I'm bringing all of my clients together for a deep dive into what I learned. And we're going to be doing a, lessons from 7 and 8 figure speakers session, where a mastermind session where I share with them and help them to implement this in their business. So, first of all, if you're listening and you're going, oh my goodness, I want to do more speaking and I want to get help with speaking, send me a message. I have different ways you can work with me. I work with clients one-on-one. We have group options. I also have my Speak Up Stand Out Academy program that you can get. So this is, if we'll drop the link in the show notes as well for you to check this out and to reach out to me. But so I'm bringing my clients together to deep dive into the things that they can start implementing, that I'm going to be implementing, some of the biggest takeaways for me that I'm going to be implementing, again, both from the how can I become a better speaker in all sorts of situations, and also from the business side, how can I really continue to grow and expand my speaking business. And as I was gathering all of the notes and all of the takeaways for them, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this as a podcast episode, because no matter where you're at, if you are somebody who's trying to improve your speaking skills within an organization, if you're trying to help empower other people to improve their speaking skills, or if you're the person who's like, I want to get into speaking, I want to add speaking on, or maybe even you're like, I want to become a professional speaker, wherever you're at, a lot of the things that I'm going to share and that I took as takeaways, you can apply where you're at. And so I decided I'm going to give all of my amazing podcast listeners a taste of some of the things that I shared and what I really think is really important for you to be working on. And so I'm really excited to share this with you today. So I'm going to go through some of the top categories of what I learned. So first of all, this event was so good. And also, I have never slept so little at a conference. And not because I was like staying out late partying by any means. It was mostly because I just couldn't sleep and my head was spinning with information. I felt like I met so many people. Everybody was so willing to help. And just the sessions, like I wanted to attend every possible session I could, from how to become a better storyteller to what types of systems should you implement in your business to help you become more efficient, to how do you put together a good talk, to how do you use a book to complement, and should you self-publish, should you go traditional publishing, to how to add more humor and, TEDx talks. Like there was just session after session. And so my mind was just racing with all of these things every single night that I wanted to implement and that I wanted to remember to bring back to my clients and to my programs. And so I was exhausted. And then one of the last nights we had the awards night, where some of the top speakers get awarded these amazing awards for the work that they do and they're speaking, the businesses that they have built. And I think I went to bed at midnight that night and then had to wake up at 3 a.m. for my flight. So I feel like I'm still recovering from this event and going through all of my notes. So I'm going to share with you some of the top things of speaking lessons from 7 and 8 figure speakers, because here's the thing is these people who have been speaking and who were speaking on stages and leading these sessions, they are amazing, eloquent, accomplished speakers. And they all had different styles. They all had different industries. They all did different types of work. And so it was so amazing to see such a variety. And that's one of the things that I want to share with you is the very first lesson from these very accomplished speakers was there is no quote unquote right way. One of the biggest things I took away from this, and something that I try and remember and remind my clients, is the more that you show up authentically as you, the more power and impact you're going to have. There is no right way to be a speaker. If you are somebody who's trying to emulate somebody else, then you're doing it wrong. I guess maybe I'll say that's wrong, only because it's not authentic to you. The right way is the way that's going to work for you. Now, of course, we can teach you, and I work with my clients on, how do we become more clear and concise and speak with more conviction, and how do we work on our delivery and all of those types of things. But at the end of the day, we need to be authentic. And so there is no right way. There's all of these very successful and accomplished leaders and speakers have very different styles. I mean, some were up there and they were very quiet and poised, and they sort of stayed in one spot, and they really commanded the attention, and they used this really innovative, I saw the most innovative talk I've ever seen. It was like this holographic type presentation. It was phenomenal. And it was that style. And then the very next speaker had just traditional PowerPoint slides, which is like some pictures and some quotes on there. But he's jumping around the stage, and he's got music, and he's pumping people up, and he's using what he called, experiential learning, where he's really getting the audience involved. And, can I get a yes? Can I get an oh yeah? Like that type of thing, like totally different than every single speaker that I saw. Had very different styles and also very effective in their own way. So that very first lesson is that there is no right way. The right way is the way that's going to feel aligned for you, that's going to help you stand out, and that's going to make you feel the most comfortable. So what is that style for you when you're speaking to groups? Is it, loud and boisterous and commanding attention? Is it more poised and more of that sort of introverted but really powerful and impact, like when you're speaking, people lean in? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, so I with that first one too, is just be you, right? Every speaker is going to be different, and if you're looking at another leader and trying to be like them, you're going to lose the magic that is you. So be you. And all of those things and all of those quirks and those personality things, like lean into those more instead of trying to hide them away and conform yourself into the way that somebody else presents themselves. So that's the first one and the most important one. The second lesson that I learned from these 7 and 8 figure speakers is more humor. Adding more humor. Even if you're not somebody, like, you don't have to get up there and be a comedian, right? Especially depending upon what you might have a serious topic, and still you can add humor and little bits and little parts of humor. And a lot of the speakers that I heard that they, some were just naturally that way. They just had this sort of energy and magnetism to them, and naturally humor came to them. And others talked about how they had to work on it, because one of the things that they said, somebody said this at the event, was, they had asked their mentor, like, do you have to be funny? Do you have to add in humor? And they said, no, only if you want to get paid. So for those of you, especially who are looking to do, get in front of large audiences, adding in slight humor when appropriate is really like a skill set, an art form that you can learn to do. And it is a way to engage with the audience. So how can you add more humor? Add more opportunities to just make the audience laugh or engage with you. So that would be the second thing. The third thing that I thought was really interesting, and a lesson for me as well, is they talked about not quoting other people. And so we have this tendency to quote and sort of lean on all these other people: Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, Brendan Burchard, whoever it is that you tend to quote. And especially now, this might work if you're, working within an organization and you're using this, but especially if you're trying to make a name for yourself as a speaker and you're trying to really lean into your own thought leadership, really quote yourself. Use yourself. Come up with your own unique things, your own unique stance on things, your own quotes that you want to share with people, instead of always quoting other people. So that's a really big insight as well, is to tell your story and lean into your own wisdom instead of just taking and piecemealing other people's. Another thing was just the different ways that you can give a presentation. So a lot of times my clients ask me this, like, do I have to have a PowerPoint? Can I have a PowerPoint? How should I do my slides? How should I do my presentation? And here's the thing is, again, I always say there's no right way. There's no right exact way to do it. There's the way that's going to work for you. If PowerPoint slides are going to make you so uncomfortable and clunky and it's going to mess with your jam, then don't do them. Just know, like, the caveat here is some events will want you to have them. So I always say, like, defaults to having them so that you do have them, but you don't have to use them. Then on the other end, we don't want to be so reliant on our slides. Like, they should enhance your presentation, not hinder it, and the experience for the audience. Why I think they can be powerful is from an adult learning perspective. We all learn differently. So for some people, they might be hearing the message and then seeing a quote or seeing an image is going to really help it land for them. And so if we're trying to appeal to more people's learning styles, that can be really beneficial, but we don't want to be so reliant on them. We don't want them to be so word heavy that it detracts from it. And also, you don't want to lean on it so much that, let's just say, technology doesn't work, which my rule that I always tell people is just expect that technology won't work. So then when it does, you are surprised, because something usually goes wrong. Okay. So here's the thing is I saw these very successful speakers. Some had slides and they were pictures and they were quotes and they were just really simple slides. Some had more diagrams and more detail, and then other speakers had no slides. So again, there's no right way. The way that's going to be right for you and that you think is going to be most beneficial for your audience. If you're presenting data, it's not really like a keynote talk, but you're giving like a presentation on something or a workshop, then most likely PowerPoint slides are going to be effective in order to, if you have to show information or statistics or things like that, then you can use those, but just make sure that it's always enhancing what you're talking about and not taking away from it. Okay, another one of the lessons is really working on your opening and your close. So when you're giving a presentation, when you're giving a talk, when you're giving any type of, speech or thing like that, the open and the close is really important. So work on that opening, getting people's attention. Like, we don't want to get up there and, in the first couple seconds, they're going to decide like if they want to lean in and listen to you, or if they're like going to start checking their phone, or you're the person that they're going to go to the bathroom during their session, right? They're going to decide that really quickly. So what are you doing to really get their attention right off the bat? Not just the, thanks for having me, I'm so-and-so. Like, what is that thing that can really get their attention, and open with that? And then also, how are you going to close so that's really memorable and powerful? Because those are going to be the things, those are like the bookends that people are going to remember when you get in front of them. So how can you have a more powerful opening statement and a close to your talk or to your presentation? Okay, so the other thing that really stood out as a lesson was, just again, the different techniques. I think I kind of said this before, but just the different techniques. And so when I'm working with my clients on getting them to become more effective communicators or speakers, we talk about there's these different styles, these different ways that you can present information. There's no exact one way. However, there are some techniques that you want to make sure. Like, we want to make sure you're clear. We want to make sure you're concise. We want to make sure that you are getting your point across, and that when you're using stories, that they are powerful. So no matter what technique you use, the most important thing is stories, which kind of goes into the next lesson, is that storytelling and using stories is at the core. Because whether you are, giving some type of information that's maybe a little bit more dry, like statistics or something like that, or stats, or something that you wouldn't say is like motivational, still using stories can help. And so I work with a lot of leaders about becoming better storytellers so that we tell a story with our information. And especially if you are a speaker and you're trying to grow your business as a speaker, or you're trying to become a more effective speaker, stories are going to be at the core. So no matter what style we do or how we end up, putting our talk or our presentation together, stories are going to be integrated throughout, because that's where we're going to evoke the emotion from people. That's where we get the buy-in. That's how we influence people. And so one of the biggest lessons that I'm going to share with you is work on your stories, work on becoming a better storyteller, and not having it too long-winded, but also not having it too short that people are like, I don't understand whether they even told me that. Like, how can you make sure that you use your stories effectively, whether it's your story, a client story, whatever it might be, to string together all of the points that you're trying to make, to evoke emotion, to influence whatever your goal is with your talk, to inspire them to take action. Stories are going to be at the root of it all. The last thing that I want to share as one of the biggest lessons was Somebody said this to me and it stood out, and I like wrote it down and I underlined it, like, find your differentiator. So we were having a conversation about, when you meet these people, everybody talks on different things, but similar things. So there's a lot of people that do leadership coaching and leadership sessions, a lot of people that do like sales sessions. And when you meet people, it's like, hey, what do you speak on? Mindset, leadership, sales, speaking, presenting. And one of the women said to me, find your differentiator, find the thing that makes you different from all of the other people that are speaking on leadership or that are speaking on this other thing. And so I'm taking that to heart and working on that for myself, is how can you market that more and lean into that more. I'm also helping my clients with that. And that's what I want to share with you, is like, what's that thing that sets you apart, that makes you different than other people in your industry? Because here's the thing, there's other people doing what you do. So what is the thing that makes you different? No matter what place you're at right now, no matter, what type of role or work that you do, what is the thing that makes you different and what sets you apart from other people doing that thing? Find that thing and then lean into that and use that. These were some of the biggest lessons that I learned. So to recap, there's no right way. Be you. Be authentically you. Lean into that. Find that thing that makes you you. Add more humor. Use yourself. Quote yourself. Use your own ideas. Use when it comes to how you present information. Find the thing that's going to be the right avenue for the audience. That's another thing I didn't really talk about, but when I work with my clients, we're talking about like, who is in the audience? What are their goals? What is the objective of this session? Because then we are going to find the right type of presentation for that. Is it using slides? Is it using handouts? Like, what is it? But just know that, finding the thing that's going to be the smoothest for you to present. Work on a stronger opening and close when you're talking and when you're giving that presentation. Use stories. No matter whatever you are presenting or speaking on, use stories, because it's what people remember. It's what invokes their emotion. It's what influences them, drives them to action. Find your differentiator. Find the thing that makes you stand apart and sets you apart from other people doing the thing that you do. That's part of your personal brand, right? That's another thing that I work with people on, is like, what's that part of your personal brand? How do you bring that out? How do you lean into those skills and those strengths that you bring? Because you're the only one that does what you can do and only the way you can do it. I tell people this all the time. You're the only one that does what only you can do and only the way that you do it. Even if there's a ton of other people that have your position, even if there's a ton of other people that have your business, your topic that you talk on, you are going to bring you and your lessons and your skills and your stories and your experiences into this presentation. And that's what people want to see. So I really hope that this was helpful for you. I would absolutely love if you reached out to me and let me know after you listen to this, what lesson stands out to you the most, and what are you going to do to really help you up level your own speaking, your own, presenting and speaking skills to other people to help you get to that next level. All right, we'll talk soon.